Hello everyone, thanks for coming outside with me today. If you've been stuck inside with the weather like most of us here in the Northeast, today's video is perfect for you. Pop in some earbuds, kick back and relax, because this is a 45-minute podcast that I did with the Huntavore project with Nick and Dustin up in Michigan. So there is no video footage to go with it, it's just the audio, so kick back and relax and enjoy, and I hope you're able to get outside yourself, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you so choose, and definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to the Huntavore Podcast, Episode 5. Today we talk with Nate Sellers of the YouTube channel Average Jack Archery. We cover a host of archery topics and what you need to do to your bow before heading out to the tree stand this season. Hold on, this episode knocks. All right, we're live.
Do it live.
Do it live. Hey, folks, welcome. We got another episode here for you. We're going cross state lines this time, and we're heading all the way over to the wondrous state of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Dustin, we've talked about Pennsylvania, I think, in a previous episode.
Yes.
They've got some real good biologists over there doing studies. Am I right?
Yes, I am. I'm jealous of the work that the biologists are doing out there in the blogging space. They've got a very well done, entertaining blog that I follow. So I like to reference what's happening in Pennsylvania and hope that it applies here in Michigan.
Excellent. Well, we got another guru over from Pennsylvania. He's an educator. He's a bow tech. He's a master archery guru. I want to give it up for Nate Sellers from Average Jack Archery. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good deal.
Wait, I just have to jump in here. You said he's a bow tech, like the brand bow tech, or a bow technician?
Let me explain that. A bow technician.
Okay.
As in he'll fix them. I'm sure he fixes, quote unquote, fixes bow techs as well.
All right.
As in the brand then. Nate, so I already kind of alluded to just a little bit. What's your mild-mannered profession during the day?
Yeah, well, during the day and according to everybody else, only 9 months out of the year. But yeah, so I'm a middle school English teacher here in rural central PA, and that's what I've done as soon as I graduated from college. So I'm going into my 6th year now, which is pretty exciting. So
excellent. As an educator myself, it's a calling. I mean, it is a career, but it's a calling.
Yeah, it really is. It's buckets of fun to work with the kids, and working in a rural school district. A lot of us have conversations about archery hunting, trapping, fishing, you name it. Here in Pennsylvania, in my school district, the first 2 days of our rifle season, which are the Monday and Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we have off every single year. It's a holiday. It's a 2-day holiday. So it's something special to hang out with the kids and to have something that we can connect with.
I'm really jealous now. They get 2 days off. Thanksgiving's just thrown in there. It's those 2 rifle days that they're looking at.
No one cares about the turkey. It's all about the venison 3 days later. So yeah.
So yeah, we got your day job. Now, what makes you special in the hunting world? I'm sure a lot of our listeners are already going to know you from YouTube.
Yeah, so I would say special is an incredibly relative term, but my role is just like I am in the classroom, is just to educate people about archery online. And YouTube was just so happened to be the platform that kind of fell in my lap with that. And so, I do work as a part-time bow technician for my local shop, but that's a very small side gig. It's mostly giving a completely free resource to people on the internet, from everybody from China, India, Australia, New Zealand, and of course the United States, to connect and talk about archery and archery hunting. And it's really something special, but it's a completely unpaid free service. So it is what it is.
What inspired you to go on this? I'm sure archery was a love of yours, but then what got you into making the videos and doing the digital?
It's quite I don't want to say it's a unique story, because it kind of just happened. It wasn't something I went out to do. The first video I posted, I think, was in 2015, and I had seen I wanted to make lighted nocks, and I'd seen another video on YouTube, and the method the guy used, I didn't. He used soldering to get a battery to connect to the LEDs. It's complicated, but I basically thought, I bet I could adapt that for somebody like me who doesn't have that sort of hobby prowess or engineering prowess. And so I did it, put it on YouTube, and it actually got a lot of views pretty quickly, and a lot of positive feedback. And I thought, well, heck, I teach kids in school about archery and all this sort of stuff, and this video kind of went well, so I started posting, and more things kind of snowballed, and it became a lot of fun, and so I do it for a lot more people now, and it's great because the funny thing is the kids in school have now found my channel.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's bad. It's bad. They'll come into school and ask all sorts of silly questions that they know just because I've already answered them on YouTube. So it's a blast. But yeah, so that's where I got my start, and I'm glad to keep continuing it.
Gotcha. I'm actually going to take a step back further. How did you get your start in archery? Was it a family member, or did you just find archery as something to escape with? Yeah,
that's actually a great question, because both my parents are not hunters. They're not outdoorsmen. They grew up with outdoorsmen families, uncles, fathers, what have you. And I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and I'm the only one who does this sort of archery or hunting or fishing. I'm the only one. And so seeing that I had an interest as a young kid, my parents specifically themselves didn't. My mom directed me to her dad, so my grandfather, and he's the one who got me set off. And he used to shoot competitively for Hoyt, major bow manufacturer. He traveled all over the country hunting, big whitetails in Illinois, Kansas, that sort of stuff. And so he got me hunting with a little, rinky-dink compound at the age of 12. And I didn't kill my first deer until I was 15 or 16 years old. So, but even then, after that year, 12, I was hooked. I was hooked immediately into target archery. I was rubbish at it, but I was hooked, and bow hunting was just an absolute blast. So that's where I got my start, and I've now kind of just been solo ever since, because there's nobody else, and now I'm blessed with the workplace that I have. But yeah, that's where it all started, I guess.
You mentioned there's the hunting aspect, and then there's the sport aspect.
Yes.
Coming from our world, we're kind of on we know all about bow hunting, but then we realize, we can take our bow hunting and go do sports. I don't have to swing golf clubs. I can go and do archery. What are some of the different types of sporting archery that maybe a lot of our listeners aren't knowing yet? I know 3D has really started to become popular here in the States, but there's field and indoor, and you participate in all 3 of those. Am I correct?
I participate in 3D and indoor. Field archery, I'm not even going to pretend that I know what I'm doing there. So there's the hunting aspect. I've told people this. I'm convinced that target archery exists because people who hunt wanted something to do other than golf in summer and didn't know what to do with themselves during the winter and the off season. Hence indoor archery. 3D. I'll start with 3D. Yeah, so 3D archery. Shooting at foam targets, varying distances. There's known and unknown, where you can shoot where they tell you the distance, which is not as fun, and then where they don't tell you the distance, and that's pretty challenging. A lot of guys love doing that in preparation, for the fall. Nothing special. They don't shoot for money or anything. They just do it with their buds.
Right.
Yeah, so field archery is definitely more international, and then indoor archery is strictly 20 yards, and the big shoot is the Vegas shoot. Held in, I think, February or March every year out in Las Vegas. Thousands of archers, very international. So, yeah, it's a buckets of fun. It gives you stuff to do all year round. Local clubs will support them. You can do the big shoots if you want. You can try to go pro. You can stay as an amateur. So it's an absolute blast.
I like your perception on sport archery existing because hunters were bored and wanted something to do. Because there's that perception out there, or widely held belief that the target archery is like this entry sport or introduction to get people into hunting, but then it just doesn't seem to happen. Well, it makes a lot of sense that, that's because it's our thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know it was only the past couple of years that I realized that at the local shooting club they had an indoor range, and I could shoot it all year. That was, again, I was like, well, I don't have to shoot outside in the snow. I don't have to pack this up and then rush as soon as spring gets here. I can keep shooting all year. And I think that really has upped my game, especially these past couple.
The wind drift inside too, I've noticed. Like, unless they get the oscillating fan going, it's an advantage. The groups tighten up a little bit.
I have noticed, maybe they have more of these in Pennsylvania. I see indoor 3D setups where you actually move station to station. Have you seen anything like that, Nate?
Yeah, well, of course, we have Lancaster Archery here in Pennsylvania, which is just, of course, known worldwide. And so because of Lancaster being such a prevalent area, we actually have a ton of indoor 3D ranges. Even in my small rural community, we have 2 within a 30-minute drive of my house. So it's, and of course you get in the bigger cities, you even get the techno hunts, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's been a lot of 3D, indoor 3D shoots that are up year round, which is fantastic.
Now with these different setups, hunting, 3D, field, indoor, do I got to have a different setup for each of these? Am I going to be looking at different poundages, or is it something that I can just take my same hunting setup to each of these?
That's a good question. I won't bore you or the listeners with all the nitty-gritty details, but it benefits you to definitely have 3 different ones. And I've made videos on this, not to kind of self-promote here, but I've made videos on this about particularly arrow diameter size. There's a reason that certain diameter arrows exist. Poundages don't really change much, but like bows, in terms of what they're supposed to, hunting bows are faster, they're shorter axle to axle. Target bows are slower, they're longer, that adds more stability. So you don't technically need different setups between the all 3, but if you really want to be competitive, you want to take it, beyond just kind of going out and having a hoot and holler with your buddies. If you want to take it beyond that and be competitive and go to shoots and travel, you're going to want to at least have a bow for 3D and field and a bow for hunting / indoor.
I think I was actually scouring your channel. My buddies went up to the Total Archery Challenge in Bohning, and we did it the year previous, and we were completely blown away at the yardages. You'd step up, and they're like 80 yards. I only have a 40-yard pin. And so then we were, oh my goodness, Kentucky elevation, not so much windage, but just, sending an arrow and just praying to hit foam.
Yeah.
This year, we all challenged, we stepped up to the plate. I actually took my fixed pin, and I tried to create some sort of slider. I put a mark on the dovetail to then try to drop the whole housing.
Whole gang adjustment.
Oh, it was. I kept just the 60 pin as the quote unquote slider. Is supremely inaccurate. It did not work.
It did not work at all. That's a shame.
But I really thought I was onto something.
Good
it
effort.
was.
Yeah.
If you had made that, you'd have been onto something.
I'll more development in the fixed slider. But as I talk about that, we got archery is both evolving and devolving. We're getting into sights that range themselves. We're getting into compounds and crossbows that have just an exorbitant amount of speed and power behind them. But at the same time, as the pendulum's swinging, it's also swinging the other way. There is a de-evolving, that I guess I'm going to call it, and the traditional world is taking fire again. What do you see as technology, as more and more technology comes into archery, Nate? Do you see that as a good thing, a bad thing, or is it to each their own?
Well, actually, I'm going to respond with a question to you guys about that. What is the rule in Michigan, and how long has it been in place when it came to crossbows and hunting? Do you guys know the answer to that question?
It's full inclusion, and I think we're in a good at least 5 years. I'm staring across the room at my crossbow that I bought right around inclusion, trying to remember when I bought that thing. So we're pretty well involved in the legislative allowance of full inclusion of crossbows. and they're widely adopted here. They're the lion's share of the archers are carrying crossbows right now, so it's not a new thing for our hunters here in Michigan.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is because Pennsylvania only adopted the full inclusion probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And so we have started seeing, I mean, it was pointless to even sell a crossbow in the state of Pennsylvania until that point. And so I've seen a ton of people, unearthing old crossbows, buying new ones. And I have no problem, with that part of the sport. Crossbows, I think, are great. They get young kids, because kids couldn't archery hunt. I mean, it just, a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid just couldn't pull the poundage. We have a minimum 35-pound draw weight, and kids couldn't pull that back. So it's great to have crossbows for that. The fact that you can shoot a deer at 70 yards with a crossbow does kind of take away from archery season. And that kind of ruffles the feathers of more than just the traditional archery guys, just us compound guys that are stuck to 20, 30, tops 40 yards. That kind of ruffles some feathers. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing to include more. It includes a lot of older hunters. It includes a lot of younger hunters, and I think it's positive. On the traditional side, I do not know very many trad hunters in Pennsylvania, if any. So I have not seen that come back here in my personal experience. You see a lot of there was a big thing with the Lancaster archery shoot this past year. They really made a big thing about the bear bow competition there, the indoor. That was fantastic. I think more people almost watch that than watch the division I shoot, bow hunter. I think a lot of people really were intrigued by that. It was like, oh, that kind of brings me back to when I was, 8 years old with a stick and a string in the backyard. So I think that was cool to see, and I think we'll see a lot more people with that in the coming years.
Yeah, I alluded to that. I actually took the time to watch that on YouTube. That was a load of fun. I mean, those guys. The one guy had a big piece of tape because the string would slap him right on the nose each time. Yeah, and it was super cool. It actually got me fired up, and I put in the traditional side is because I picked up a Reflex Defects longbow myself, and they call it a struggle stick for a reason.
Yeah,
I thought I was good, and I just learned that the compound is totally making up for all of my mistakes as far as stability, holding, and just keeping everything steady. You pull back just that one nuts. I mean, it's really just a stick and string, and you learn real fast that the compound really helps you out.
Yeah, last year I made the decision prior to ramping up archery practice season in the summer that I was going to become proficient with the recurve and take myself a deer, and then I bailed on that after I realized how much commitment it was going to take. Well, and I feel like I was putting in a decent amount of time, but I was not learning correctly. I wasn't doing myself any favors by going out and getting the right resources to be able to efficiently do that. So I saved my wound loss rate and decided we'll use that.
Go back to your crossbow.
That tool. Well, yeah, we'll use that tool in the future sometime.
So being that we've now talked a little bit about the technology of a bow, and you mentioned earlier guys are coming in now with their bows to be restrung, looked over, greased up. Take me through the steps of you get your bow out of the box, or you're dusting it off, and you haven't been a good archer, and you put it away. Coming to you, what are some of the steps that go through? Like, what's your checklist on prepping a bow for season?
Yeah, I think the first thing, if you don't shoot your bow year-round, you need to start doing that, because that helps you. It really does. Crossbow or a compound or a recurve really helps you know when your bow starts going out of whack. You can hear it, you can feel it, you can see it. I think the first thing is obviously checking your string cables. Those things are under stress 24/7. You're going to check all your stress points around cans, the peep, is it cutting anything you frayed, obviously change that automatically. But then if you do shoot your bow year-round, the number one thing is keeping a checklist. I keep a book. I write down everything, the distance from my D-loop to the bottom of my peep, distance of the brace height, the axle, what my poundage was, my actual draw length. It might say 30 inches on the module, but if you actually measure, it's at 30 and a quarter, which is actually what I sit most comfortably around 30 and a quarter. So I tweak it to be that. So I actually keep all of that, and then if I have to move something or change string and cables, I could either take that exact sheet to my pro shop, or myself, I can do it in my basement, and I can put it to all those exact same numbers, and every single year I can duplicate my best bow setup. And that has been really successful. I've been using that idea for 5-6 years now, and it was like, oh, duh, why didn't I do that, for the past 10, 12 years, and I tell that to people when they come in, and they're like, well, I used to shoot this bow, and then I put it away for the winter, and I pulled it out again, and it's not shooting where I shot it. And I tell them, I say, after we get this set up and it's perfect for you, please take the time and write down all these numbers. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to people, is measure everything on your bow, so that way you can always have it reset up exactly the way you like it.
Just a small little notebook, or just even a folded paper just stuck in your case? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. I'll tell people that, just because once you write it down, you don't have to see it again. So even if it's on the back of a 3x5 card, shove it in the foam protector under your case and leave it there. And when you bring it back to the shop next year, pull that out and say, this is exactly what I need. And we'll say perfect, and we'll pull out the measuring tape and get it done.
As far as string life goes, waxing is going to be a huge proponent. You always seem to forget that, putting it back in, but you want to make sure you're always waxing it. But what's the type of life that you're getting out of your string? I know you're shooting year round. It's a love of yours. What's the lifespan on a string like you?
For somebody like me, it's no more than about 2 years. They'll get to the point. Well, a lot of people don't realize about bowstrings is that they're actually not tied to anything. They're just continuous loops and loops and loops of material that's just held together with serving. So eventually everything kind of starts to loosen up and everything starts to stretch, and you can't stop it from stretching. So you put thousands of shots like I do on a pair of strings. They just don't last more than 2, maybe 3 years if I take the summer off in 3D or something like that. And crossbows, it's even more important because those things are under 175, 200 pounds of pressure continuously. And then all the shooting that you'll do with them. So I don't see more than 2 to 3 years, and that's even with proper waxing. Once every other couple of times I shoot it. Most people, I've said this before to people, you can't over wax a string. No one ever says I really wax my string too much. It's always like, no, I never wax it ever. It's Frank. So there's no bad time to wax your string or do any sort of maintenance like that.
Well, we're down to our final question here that I have written down. That doesn't mean our night's over, but we're here at the Huntavore. We're all about not only taking the game, but we enjoy eating the game, utilizing as much of the wildlife as we can. That's our big passion. That's at least my passion. That's my goal. Is the less that I can leave in the gut pile, the more that I can utilize of the animal that's going back out into the dumpster. That's a good thing. So I've got my challenge to you. It's my 2-dish breakdown for you, Nate. So I hope you're as good in the kitchen as you are at the tech station, at the bow press.
Try.
All right.
Yeah.
First one is your favorite meat treat, be it jerky, sticks, sausage. What is your favorite go-to snack out of venison? And do you make it yourself, or do you take it to a processor?
It's hands down summer sausage. I just absolutely just love the stuff. And I have made it in the past, but I'm very blessed. We have a mom and pop style deer processor and butcher about a mile or two down the road from my house, and they just make you can't beat it. I've tried. They sell their little seasoning packets there in the store. You just can't duplicate it. They'll put high temp cheese in it, which is why I'll get like a jalapeno pepper high temp cheese in that, and over the winter when it's negative 10 degrees outside, little mustard, little cracker.
Yeah.
Sit in front of the fire and watch football. That's my kind of meal. So I'll take that summer sausage year round. Now,
does he mix in beef fat, pork fat? Do you know what he's throwing in?
Well, so it's they have a deal with the local beef farm, and so this stuff. This stuff is still mooing when they're grinding. It's otherworldly how good this stuff is. It's actually quite coveted work. A guy will bring something in because of course we all use the same shop, and they'll bring one in, and we're like, we know you bought more.
Exactly. Nobody gets 1 pound.
No, and actually they have a minimum. You have to buy a minimum 10 pounds of the stuff from them. So it's 10 pounds of gold. So.
You think we can do Central PA in a day trip?
I bet we can get there real quick.
We would try it.
I'll ship some.
Oh, sounds
Well, that's
good.
easier.
Next one. This one's a little more detailed. This is the date night menu. So, kids are at mom and dad's. They're gone for the night. It's you and the missus. Instead of going out, you're staying in. You're cooking the meal. I want to know what cut. I want to know how you're cooking it. And I want to know what's going with it. I don't want you to leave out any details.
Sure. So it's so my wife's personal favorite. I'll give you this one. Although if I was cooking, if I was trying to impress, I might do something a little bit different. But I'll tell you, my wife's. We make like a pulled venison backstrap, and just slather that thing in Sweet Baby Ray's and little toasted Kaiser roll, and that's one thing she really enjoys. And I'm a big fan of garlic red skin mashed potatoes.
Oh yeah.
On the side. Yeah, I know. So. And we use real buttermilk. We're not nonsensing around here. We want full calories.
There you go.
So
It gets cold in Pennsylvania. You want those calories.
We're always packing on the pounds. It seems like we spent. Well, I mean, you guys know in the north.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like we get 9 months worth of winter. So but it's that pulled venison. That's a backstrap or a loin dish. I personally like almost like a country fried steak out of a tenderized tenderloin, or even the hidden tenderloin inside the backhand. Those are just wonderful cuts of meat, obviously. The previous meat, the fish, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Those are just fantastic. And again, probably with the red skin mashed potato. My wife's partial to asparagus. I like green beans and carrots, but it's a fantastic dish. And same thing with the pulled venison. You just can't put it in a slow cooker and just cook it for probably 4 to 6 hours, and a little bit of onion and everything else in it. It's just a wonderful meal. Even it's a great crowd pleaser. I've given it to people before, and they'll go like, "Oh, is this like beef? It doesn't taste like pulled pork." And I say, "Nope, that's venison." Oh, that's interesting. And so it brings in a lot of other people that, even though I live in an area where venison is almost as prevalent, if not more so, than beef or chicken, it brings in a lot of people that may not appreciate wild game, and it brings us a little closer around the table.
Yeah. Do you find yourself doing a lot of that venison diplomacy?
I did a lot more in college. I attended Penn State University, which is a very liberal state university, and I would always take off because when I was in school, I got that Monday off after Thanksgiving for rifle season, and even in college, I would still personally take the day off. I would skip classes. It was the only day of the year I'd skip classes, and I'd come back and people would say, "Well, where were you?" And I'd say, "Well, I was hunting." "Well, why?" And I'd say, "Here, taste this," And so I did a lot more of that in talking about the conservation and the archery. It's more than just the taking of the animal. And so, I did a lot of that, but not nearly as much as I used to.
Yeah, especially, like you said, just in the college element, we're finding areas that, they don't hunt. They don't understand. You're out there to just put a head on the wall. You're completely missing the point on that. The real trophy is what I've got wrapped up in the freezer here.
Yeah, it really is. Freezer treasures.
Yeah, freezer treasures. I
always put a date on it.
I actually found. I went through the freezer again. We were doing some freezer shuffling, and I got another set of freezer treasures.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and they're in good shape. These ones, I believe, are even fresher.
Excellent.
So
we'll have to look at those here soon.
Yeah.
I have a couple even further questions. It's going to dive into your channel, Nate.
Sure.
You've been doing a lot of product testing. I'm not sure if you're sponsored by anybody or if they throw you any cash. You're shooting that elite bow, and you picked up the Iron Will broadheads and those Bishop broadheads. I just saw those recently. I'm a big fan of those Bishops. Those are really slick looking. They're have that single bevel. They're pricey though.
They're one heck of a premium head, that's for sure, and they do carry that premium price.
Yeah, and I guess judging from your video that I watched, where you actually took that to the test to say, do these fly just like my field points, I was impressed that how well they did fly.
It's hard to get a 2-blade broadhead that doesn't plane a lot of the time. It really is. And that, but I mean, it's a very small cut, so it kind of cheats a little bit. But it's still, I mean, I was incredibly impressed right out of the package.
Good deal. I drank the Kool-Aid on the Ashby stuff, going high FOC, wanting to go heavy arrow, and that's been my pushes for that single bevel, and I actually jumped up to 125 grains on a broadhead. When I started out, and I think for most people it's right around the 100 grains, but I'm even looking at maybe adding a brass weight up front. Why as an archer, why am I going through all the effort of trying to put a bunch of weight up front, creating that FOC or front of center weight?
Yeah, that's a great question. So front of center, or the FOC of the arrow, you want the weight to be at the forward end of the arrow. If you think about, if you think about throwing a golf club, let's say, it's, if you throw it from the shaft end and you throw the head first, it's going to want to follow the head. If you try to turn it around and throw the shaft first, it's going to want to flip over towards the head. So you think about it with an arrow, it's going to want to focus all of its energy more towards the heaviest part. And if that heaviest part's in the back, or if it's not forward of the center line of the arrow, it's not going to have as great as accuracy as it could. And so for target guys, it's not nearly as a fickle thing. But for broadheads, you're putting a big thing on there. It's like a second set of vanes. You want as much FOC as you can to really direct that arrow. And a lot of guys that hunt bigger critters, in general, boosting your FOC also boosts your overall arrow weight. So if you're trying to shoot for a 500-600 plus grain arrow, adding brass, like you said, or getting a bigger grain broadhead or field point is just going to overall boost your FOC and boost your overall arrow weight.
Is there a point where you've gone too far? Because I look at Nick here and I see the kind of things that he's doing, and I just want to make sure that, like, is the worst case scenario just that the arrow's a little slower, or is there like
I want that arrow to be just like me, heavy and slow.
I'll do a shout out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. The one guy in that Bishop video, the one guy that does a lot of stuff with Bishop is Troy Fowler, aka the Ranch Fairy on YouTube, and he shot out arrows over 1,000 grains. I think I have arrows downstairs right now that are 3, like I could glue all 3 of them together and they still wouldn't be over 1,000.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So that is insane.
It's insane. And that's like 1,000 grains and like 22% FOC when the average person's around 10% FOC. So the only thing is it's going to make the bow a lot slower, but it's going to absorb all that energy and vibration. You're going to have a really quiet bow. This year I'm shooting aluminum. I'm shooting 540 grains. It's incredibly quiet. It's unearthly. You have to really do the test yourself to understand that it's not just smoke and mirrors. It's really impressive.
Now, switching to aluminum, you just said, is that going to give you the weight that you're looking for, or are you just kind of going back to the old school? Because aluminum was king for quite a while, and then carbon came around, and carbon's good for its straightness. But what you're saying is aluminum's still relevant today.
Yeah, aluminum is incredible. Aluminum, actually, for the price point, you can get a 1,000 straight in aluminum for what you can get a 6,000 straight carbon. So it's incredibly high tolerance, high weight tolerance, fine tolerance, straightness tolerance, but the durability is obviously not there. So I shot it this year, not for its durability, but for its weight. I wanted to try to shoot an over 500 grain arrow, and going aluminum was just the easiest way for me to go. And I have a whole bunch of them because I shoot them for indoor in the wintertime. Gotcha.
Actually, I see Dustin over here. He's pulled out an old aluminum here. Looks like conduit.
So this is what I refer to as the Scud, like a Scud missile. We're panning this by. We can put a picture of this online. We're panning this by for the length. This is a full. This is a 2514 Superlight XX78. Yeah, Super Slam. So yeah, completely full length. My dad has like these freak long arms. So he's got the archer's dream draw, so he's shooting these full-length arrows. So I inherited these things, and I paired this up with his 1972 recurve, and it doesn't shoot like I hoped. You think there's a problem there with what I'm attempting, or?
Are you shooting off the shelf?
No, I have a flip rest.
Okay, so you're shooting a 25-12, did you say?
It is
I think it was a 14.
25-14.
So that's incredibly stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very stiff arrow. So what kind of poundage are you shooting out of that recurve?
It's heavy. It is.
It's not that heavy.
You think so? Wow. No, it's probably not the appropriate heaviness for the spine, but yeah.
I'd say it's a 50-pound bow.
Yeah, I'm saying it's
Okay.
a solid 50.
Yeah, so 25-14, it's a huge diameter. That's insane. That's not even legal by World Archery standards. The highest you can go is 23-64. So 25s in general are dynamically stiffer because they're just so big. And then 25-14, that's going to be somewhere in the low 300 spine, 320, 330, just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I can't even shoot that out of my 60-pound elite. That would just be too stiff. So you're probably getting some funky arrow flight from having an overly stiff arrow. Even at 32 inches, you probably don't have like if you had like 300 grains up front, you'd probably be okay. But I don't.
Yeah, no, there's just a little 100 grainer on there. So
we got a piece of rebar we could attach to the front if we wanted to.
Yeah. So I think the problem is the arrow choice, and I'm probably an excellent recurve archer.
The old saying is it's usually not the arrow, it's the Indian Dustin.
Ah,
but this might apply this time.
I figured while we had him here, though, I had to run the scenario by him just to understand.
Gotcha. All right. Now our listeners, our few that we're hopefully going to be getting on here, can they get a sneak peek as to what's coming up next at Average Jack Archery? What do you got? What do you got planned in that head of yours, Nate?
Well, that's great because I have no idea. So it's interesting being. I didn't think that I would have. And it sounds incredibly petty, but I have over 11,000 people that follow. I did not. I thought I'd just post a video to YouTube and just have fun with it. And so I don't really know. I have young kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. Obviously, job and all the other stuff. As I alluded to, I umpire in the spring in some of my other videos and everything. So I'm a pretty busy individual. But when it comes to the Average Jack Archeries, one thing I've talked to other people about is I'm trying to stay away from putting archery hunting, in the thing, because that's kind of a touchy subject on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Putting the hunts and all that sort of stuff on. So that's kind of curtails a lot of the stuff that I really find enjoyable, like I alluded to earlier. Target archery, although I do enjoy it, it's not my incredible cup of tea. And so it's kind of now my wife and I have been talking about finding a balance of the stuff that I want to be putting out and the things that are going to interest people and bring more people to the channel and help educate people on archery and archery hunting as best I can.
You did allude, I think, in your last video that there might be an Average Jack hunting channel that would be non-monetized. It's purely for those who are interested in the sport of hunting.
Yes.
We can look forward to that at some point.
Oh, yeah, that's happening.
That's happening.
Oh, good.
That's going to happen. It's not going to be on my main channel.
Right.
And we're going to see. I do hunt with a couple other buddies. Self-filming. And for anybody who's listening, if you've never tried self-filming, go try it. And then understand when people are so excited on camera when they harvest something self-filming. Because I tried it this past year and it went over so horribly wrong. It's a lot of things to keep all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So I thankfully have a couple buddies from work who I hunt with on a pretty frequent basis, and we try to film each other. So hopefully we can get some films down and put those on the channel for people to enjoy. I just had on the main channel, I did have Sitka Gear send me some gear to review and to test over. I think they told me I can keep it, but I know that's pretty exciting. I'm not sponsored by anybody. No one forks me money. Anybody who wants stuff, they send me stuff and say, give us an honest archery hunters in particular review. So Bishop sent me some heads to review. Iron will send me heads to review. Maiden sent me those binoculars, which were just fantastic to review and give my honest opinion on. But I've sent all that stuff back. But Sitka hasn't told me that I need to give that stuff back.
Yeah.
Keep that. So that's coming down the pipe, and I know that I have a whole bunch of stuff on the questions that we asked about earlier about getting ready for the season. Really, if you haven't been shooting your bow, what do you need to look forward to? What do you need to start doing now here in July and August, well before the season kicks off September, October?
What is opening day in PA?
I'm not going to say that I have an app on my phone that has counting down the hours, minutes, and everything else, but it's September 30th, I believe, is a Saturday, is the opening day of archery season.
All right.
Oh, you guys get out there early while it's hot, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I prefer it. I prefer that early season.
Gotcha. Yeah, us people in Michigan, I've got relatives in Wisconsin, and they're always nana. We get to start early,
Yeah.
but at the same time, nothing seems to happen that early. Everything is so hot, and everything lays down until dark. So it's kind of like that little time wasted.
I don't think October 1st is that much further after September 30, though, either.
Oh, that's true. It's only one day.
Yeah.
So I think Wisconsin's a little
There's
early.
a big delay. Like, oh my gosh.
That's why I teach PE. I don't teach math. Nate, thanks for taking the time and doing this. I know there's a lot of people out there. There's, like you said, 10, 11,000 people that tune into your channel. I think there's a need for media that we're putting together where we're trying to send a message that hunting has a purpose, and that you're sending a message that, archery's year-round. This is a discipline. Having people that are a little younger as we are, I mean, we're getting up there in our 30s, but I think having a niche here where you are really contributing to the sport of archery and the sport of hunting, and I just want to thank you personally for all that you've done. You've thrown this all out free to everybody, and that's a huge service.
Well, I thank you. Those are very kind words. It was all by accident. I'm not going to say that I did it deliberately. So, but I really appreciate you guys having me on. This has been fantastic. I've always wanted to. It's hard to get a whole bunch of stuff out in a 5-minute YouTube video. So
Yeah.
I was very excited when I could sit down and do a 30-minute plus podcast with you guys. So thanks for having me on. It's been really special.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, this might just be one episode. We got several other half hours. I'm sure we can get real specific on some of our archery stuff. And maybe we can see a little bit more of your culinary work here. We've learned about the sloppy Joe for the night, for the evening. Now you got to really work something. We'll have to see some of that summer sausage.
There's nothing left. I think
It's gone.
I think it lasted. Let's see. I got my buck November 6th or 7th, and I think I got it back there 2-3 weeks later. I don't think it made it till January 1st.
That's not bad. That's discipline still.
Yeah,
That's still discipline.
there's only 2 of us in the house that eat it. There's 4 people, so that's like 5 pounds a piece. So
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, that's discipline. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
What's the 2-year-old think of it?
that's fantastic.
What's the 2-year-old think of venison?
I don't even know if she likes food.
Yeah. Amen to that. What is up with that?
The little one, the 1-year-old, she'll eat her under the table. She'll eat all of us under the
Yeah.
table. But the 2-year-old, I don't know. She just enjoys singing and telling stories at the dinner table.
There you go.
So.
Dustin and I were just talking about this. My 2, they'll eat meat as long as it's in nugget form.
Yeah,
it's got to be breaded.
nugget.
It's got to be tenderized. Oh,
Yeah, either cubed or in nugget form, covered in bread.
Yeah.
slathered in ketchup.
I went cubed with ranch and barbecue yesterday, and it all ended up on the floor. I took offense.
Yeah, I would too. Ellis, you're done.
You're done.
Sitting in the corner. All right. Well, hey, we don't want to take your whole evening, Nate. So thank you so much for your time. This has been a lot of fun. You got anything left to say there, Dustin?
No, I appreciate you taking the time and the knowledge that's in your brain. I appreciate you sharing that for all of us for free, because there are so many things that can frustrate the archer, that it's good to have solid information out there to be able to find up and figure out what's going on when things may not be going right. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you.
If you have questions or want to make a comment, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Huntavore Podcast. Also, please leave a review or rating on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you're getting your content from. Special thanks to Nate for joining us. Check out his content on YouTube at the channel Average Jack Archery. Thanks again for listening. Oh, and get outside today and keep your knives sharp.